My name's Angelo, and welcome to We Want Picks. I'm going to break down the entire UFC 290 fight card, giving you my picks, predictions, and DraftKings plays. But before I do, let's celebrate the success. Our premium members have made more than $149,000 on DraftKings alone in the last 2 months. Was that clear? Only DraftKings, here's the winning tickets, and only the last 2 months. This isn't 2 years worth of winning tickets. This is 2 months worth of winning tickets from premium members only that went out of their way to say, I'm a premium member, and I crushed it. Right here on the right-hand side, Jay says, I became a premium member on Monday, and I won my first DraftKings tournament on Saturday. That's a $4,700 ticket, and that's from last weekend. That's from the Sean Strickland card. We have a $50,000 ticket from a few cards ago. We have a $2,000 ticket, a $4,700 ticket. We have a $50,000 ticket, a $78,000 ticket, a $13,000 ticket. We have Rainmaker tickets. These are premium members. Premium membership is only $10 a month. Did you hear the giant numbers I rattled off? And then the little teeny tiny one I said at the end? Premium members only $10 a month to become a member, and that's on purpose. We are very, very dedicated to delivering the best $10 value in the history of this sport or any other sport. And if these tickets aren't proof enough, this isn't a sales pitch from me. These are actual winning tickets that were tweeted, DM'd, sent, posted in the Discord. People that are just so happy they won and wanted to give us the credit that maybe we helped them out just a little bit. That $10 premium membership is going to get you everything you've ever needed. And specifically for DraftKings, we're going to give you all of our breakdowns for your cash core entries, your GPP cores, any live dogs you should be messing with, your leverage. Then we're going to break down every single fighter by salary, depending on cash games, single entry, multiple entry, depending on what you're playing. You're also going to get a cheat sheet. This is going to be fully populated every single Friday by 6 p.m. Eastern. You're going to get the DraftKings ownership projections, the DraftKings scoring projections, and then the leverage praise. Leverage, that's a proprietary number that we come up with that sort of helps you separate yourself from the pack. All of our ownership numbers are self-made. We're not buying them and reposting them. We have a guy behind the scenes grinding out these numbers. You can then take all those numbers or use the pre-populated numbers in the lineup optimizer, and this will literally build DraftKings lineups for you. It'll build one, it'll build 150. This is the greatest $10 value for DraftKings, let alone if you zoom out and get the FanDuel content, Prize Picks, all that other stuff. Everything you could ever imagine is included. It is only $10 a month. Just go to WeWantPicks.com and click Become a Member. Let's go ahead and jump into this card. This is a wild card. We have insanely massive favorites. Right now, Bo Nickel is the biggest favorite in the history of UFC, period. We have another Jack Della, Maddalena, massive favorite. We have some humongous favorites on this card. Couple of live dogs. This is going to be actually a pretty tricky DraftKings week because of the pricing and because of how a lot of these fights have laid out with short notice. Let's go ahead and jump in. Opening the card, we got Esteban Ribovics taking on Kamuela Kirk. I'll tell you right now, I think Esteban Ribovics is the best at this price range, $8,500. I think you need to have him in your lineup. We're going to have some very, very expensive people. Esteban Ribovics, I'm very confident in him to get this done. $8,500 isn't so bad. He's a very impressive striker. He's got very sneaky power. His strikes are tight. They're short. They're accurate. He's got a real high guard and just a full highlight reel of knockouts. But he's not just a striker. He's got good takedowns, solid BJJ. He's going to shoot clean doubles, get you to the ground, and then work from there. This fight here, yes, he came off a loss in his UFC debut against Loik Radzhabov, but he almost had that dude down and out late, which tells me he carries his power late into the fights. He's taking on Kamuela Kirk. Kamuela Kirk's coming back after a year away. And before that layoff, he was sort of a gun-shy striker. He's got decent takedowns. He is a grappler, but he doesn't let his hands go on his feet, which gives people the opportunity to light him up, to touch him up, to make things happen. He does throw out nice, clean 1-2s, but again, that lack of volume gets him into trouble. He's coming back after a year away. I doubt in that year he somehow has picked up the pace, and now he's going to show up a year removed from the cage and just let his hands fly. So I think he's going to be gun shy. I think he's going to be a little slower off the rip, and Esteban Ribovics is going to come in there, take over, work the striking if he needs to, work in the grappling as well. So I like Esteban Ribovics. I like him at $8,500. Then we have Jesus Aguilar taking on Shannon Ross. All of these fights are tricky, and they're all appropriately priced. Jesus Aguilar should win this fight. He's $8,600. So now we have to figure out, is he worth the $8,600? Well, he's a solid grappler. He has a knack for finding guillotines in fights. He'll actually hunt for them. He's got 8 wins. 6 of them are by stoppage. So historically, he does put up some solid numbers if he gets the win. He is active. He's super fun to watch, but he's coming off that submission loss to Tatsuro Taira. He's taking on Shannon Ross. Where are you, buddy? Come on. S. Ross. He's taking on Shannon Ross. He's a pretty well-rounded guy, and he's primarily a wrestler, but he does get sucked into back-and-forth firefights on his feet. He does have 2 losses under the UFC umbrella. You only see one here because the other one was on the Contender Series, but both of those losses actually showcased how tough he can be. Yes, round 1 knockout to Rodriguez here, but he comes out, he's explosive, he's dangerous, he's never been in a boring fight, but he is insanely hittable. I do think Jesus Aguilar is going to win this fight. I think the Mexican push from the UFC, I think they know what they're doing here. I think they want to showcase Jesus Aguilar. I think he can grapple, he can pressure, he can keep Shannon sort of on his back. I think Jesus gets it done, and it's probably by finish. So that's really up to you if you want to spend the $8,600 on Jesus Aguilar or the $8,500 on Ribovics. I am more confident in Ribovics to win, but I am more confident that if Jesus wins, it's by finish, if that makes any sense. So I don't think you can go wrong with either one of those guys. Maybe you want to take the $100 discount, or maybe you want to chase that actual, the stoppage there and get those stoppage points. Then we have Saaiman taking on Terrence Mitchell. Saaiman, he's a fun technical striker. He can grapple if he needs to. He does a really good job stepping into combinations, finishing them with leg kicks. And then when you think he got his striking cadence figured out, he's going to spin on you or go ahead and shoot. But he's all overall well-rounded kid, solid cardio, good striker. He is at a juiced price tag of $9,400. He's taking on Terrence Mitchell. Terrence Mitchell, short notice guy. There's 4 of them, I believe, on this card. He's a long, lean grappler. He doesn't have the best takedowns, but he is dangerous on the ground. As soon as you hit the ground, he uses that length. I'm stretching my arm out like you can see what I'm doing here, but he uses that length. He'll tie you up with his legs. He'll tie you up with his arms. He'll work those submissions. On his feet, he's very capable as well. He laser pinpoint accuracy, super fast kicks. He's almost like a smaller but chinny Kevin Holland. Listen, Saaiman's going to win this fight. He should win this fight, but he's not insanely dangerous. And the reality is I'm not spending $9,400 on him. So I'm going to fade Saaiman. He's very, very expensive, and I don't think he's going to pay for himself, especially around that price point where we have some other guys that could potentially pay for themselves. We got Vitor Petrino, $9,000. He's coming off this win over Anton Turkalj. He put up 116 points, even though it was a decision, because he had 7 takedowns and 4 reversals. Honestly, that screams sloppy. How are there 4 reversals in the mix here? But anyway, he put up massive points because of the grappling. This fight likely is going to be a striking fight because Vitor Petrino has that absolute killer left hook. He's a striker. Every single one of his opponent's game plans are usually take him down and get away from the striking because he's got big, big power in his hands. He was on the Contender Series. You're not going to see that here, but he was in a deep triangle choke. He picked it up, slammed the dude clean on the ground. He does need to clean some things up, though. He can be a little fast and loose, but I mentioned he's coming off this win over Anton Turkalj that you can see here. He had 7 takedowns. You see the 4 reversals. He was taken down 5 times. That's how he got the 4 reversals. He got taken down 5 times. A wild, sloppy fight. That's why I mentioned he's got to button some things up. But he is dangerous. And he's fighting Marcin Prachnio. Marcin Prachnio has a combat karate background. He has 400 combat karate wins, actually. A really long list of accomplishments. His MMA style is brawling but technical. He's going to get in the pocket. He's going to let his hands go, but he's very specific about what he's doing. He's not just biting down his mouthpiece and swinging away. He does have incredible power, but he can be KO or bust. He's coming off this win over William Knight where, frankly, nothing happened. He chopped William Knight's legs out a little bit, and then they just stood against the cage for a full 15 minutes. Vitor Petrino should absolutely win this fight. He has the power. He has the wrestling. He has the cardio that we've seen. The question then becomes, do you think Vitor wins by finish? And Marcin Prachnio has been finished plenty of times. Plenty of times. I mean, finish. Look at this. 3 knockout losses in a row to start his UFC career. He left, came back, started to put it together. I doubt his chin is fully recovered, which makes this even tougher to pick because he is coming off that win over William Knight. And yes, William Knight did nothing in that fight, but some of that was because Marcin Prachnio took his legs out, took that away from him, made him a little afraid to commit. I don't think Vitor is going to be afraid to commit, but I do think Marcin Prachnio may be able to slow it down, take some of the juice off. So $9,000 is a lot of money to spend. If you think Vitor Petrino wins by finish, he should be in your lineup. I do think he wins. Maybe it's not by finish, though. Maybe Marcin Prachnio, with that veteran savvy, can chop those legs. This is a really tough... This is actually, in my opinion, the toughest decision to make in your lineup because Vitor Petrino could put up another 120-point win, or it could be a pretty low, not score that well type situation. But $9,000, if you think he gets the finish, he should be in your lineup. Tatsuro, Taira. Your guys are not going to like this take. $9,600. One of the biggest favorites on the entire card. Third biggest favorite on the entire card, actually. He's taking on Edgar Chairez. Edgar Chairez is stepping up on short notice. Tatsuro Taira is 23 years old. He's a grappler. He wants to come forward, get the takedowns, work from there. We have seen him get those submission wins. He submitted CJ Vergara. He submitted Jesus Aguilar after landing one single punch. And Jesus landed 2. So Jesus doubled his strikes. Not a good look there, Tatsuro. But the reality is, Tatsuro Taira is a very good grappler. But he is just a kid. He's 23 years old. He is just a kid. This CJ Vergara win, yes, he won. But his takedown attempts started getting real sloppy later in that fight. This Carlos Candelario fight, again, it was a win. He had a takedown. He had a couple of reversals. It was a win. I personally don't think Tatsuro Taira is as good as people say he is. I think he can get there. He's only 23 years old, but people are acting as if he's like the next big thing. I think we have a nice, young, up-and-coming kid that can string together some solid wins, and he's going to work his way up the ladder. And the UFC is doing it right with him. They're building him the appropriate way. He's taking on Edgar Chairez. Edgar Chairez stepping up on short notice. I think this pricing is absurd. Edgar Chairez has nice technical striking, nice jiu-jitsu. He is hittable, right? His defensive striking is not as good as his offensive striking, but Tatsuro Taira is not... who's he knocking out, right? Tatsuro Taira is not the big power guy, so I don't need to worry about Edgar being hittable, especially because his chin has been holding up. Edgar has very good BJJ. If you remember that viral video a few months ago of the guy that had the kid in the triangle choke and the referee was just watching him, let him pass out. Then he transitioned from a triangle choke to an armbar, broke the dude's arm. The dude was waking up to a broken arm, and the referee basically did nothing. That was Edgar. Edgar was the one that did those things. His transitions were incredible. His jiu-jitsu is solid. He's got real long kicks. He's going to come forward. He's going to box you up. He's going to look to get takedowns. I think this pricing is way out of whack. Way out of whack. You're not going to like this take. I probably will have to have Edgar Chairez in my lineup at $6,600 to afford some of these massive high price tag favorites. Of these massive high price tag guys, Tatsuro Taira is my least confident. Right? We'll get to Bo Nickel. We'll get to Jack Della Maddalena. And then Tatsuro Taira is right there. It's minus 2,500 favorite, minus 1,500 favorite, minus 900 favorite in Tatsuro Taira. He, of those three, is my fade. And in order to afford a real lineup here, you're going to need Edgar Chairez in there. Don't tail that. I know people absolutely hate that take, but, listen, it's just how I feel. If I wasn't going to be honest with you, what am I doing here? Then we got Jimmy Crute and Alonzo Menifield. This is a rematch. They just fought. And if we look here, Alonzo Menifield scored 58 points in a fight without a win bonus. You give him the 30 for the decision, that's 88 points. That is a solid score for a dude that was only $7,600 in DraftKings. You can see he's $8,000 now. The playing field was leveled a little bit because Alonzo Menifield had 2 knockdowns in that fight. He almost had Jimmy Crute down and out multiple times. The only reason this was a draw was because Alonzo Menifield grabbed the cage. They took a point away. That made it a draw. It was going to be 29-28. It ended up 28-28. The reality is Alonzo Menifield was the one who was closer to winning this fight outright. He was taken down. Let me show you. I think it was 5 times. He was taken down 6 times. He gave up 9 minutes of control time. So Jimmy Crute scored 63 points in a fight with no decision. It's absolutely incredible. If Jimmy Crute won that decision, he would have had 93 points. It's incredible that 2 people without a win bonus put up those kind of numbers. And they were very different. Alonzo Menifield dropped Jimmy Crute multiple times. Almost had him knocked out. That's 10 points per drop. Jimmy Crute had 6 takedowns, 9 minutes of control time. That racks up well in DraftKings. You got to pick your side in this fight because I do think whoever wins is going to put up very real numbers. Alonzo Menifield is either going to knock out Jimmy Crute, as he almost did the first time, or Jimmy Crute's going to take him down, hold him down, and then grind out a decision that looks something like the 93 points we would have seen here. Personally, I'm on the Alonzo Menifield side. He almost had Jimmy Crute knocked out cold twice. Why would I assume that that won't happen again? Jimmy Crute's the one who has to come in here and fight a perfect fight, not Alonzo. Alonzo just needs to connect a few times as he did last time. Jimmy Crute, in every single interview he has done since that fight, goes on and on and on about the power. You can't find an interview of Jimmy Crute after the Alonzo fight where he doesn't mention the insane power. Oh my God, he hit so hard. Yeah, he hit hard, but I was composed. It's just nonstop with how hard Alonzo hit, which has me thinking that he's worried about the power. He's going to be coming in either shooting desperate or from farther away or what. So I'm going slight lean Alonzo Menifield. I do think you're going to need one of these guys in your lineup. Then we have Yazmin Jauregui taking on Denise Gomes. Yazmin Jauregui, another one of these upper echelon price tags. They're at $9,300. The reality is she is winning by finish. She is dangerous. She does have the skills. She's a very powerful striker. She does have a promising career ahead of her. She's going to pressure forward. She's going to be very pinpoint accurate with those strikes. She does have fantastic body lock takedowns as well. And she's the complete package. She's a very well-rounded fighter and one of the more dangerous women in this division. They gave her that $9,300 price tag, and in her last fight, she was worth it. 2 fights ago, not so much. So the question becomes, do you think Yazmin Jauregui wins this fight by stoppage? Because she does have that power. She does have that accurate striking. She's taking on Denise Gomes. Denise Gomes is also a striker who can also grapple. They're actually somewhat similar in style here, but Denise Gomes is going to come forward. She can be hittable, but she's got some big-time power. She will bite down on her mouthpiece and bomb away before looking to close the distance and get a takedown. I personally think Yazmin's going to win this fight, as do most people. That is not a hot take. What might be a hot take is that Yazmin was dropped in her last fight. She was dropped early. She recovered. She came back. She won by stoppage, but she was dropped early by a girl who hasn't had a fight win in the UFC just yet. Denise Gomes, on the other hand, hits hard. Denise Gomes comes forward. Denise Gomes isn't afraid to bang. That's either going to work for us or against us. We either have Denise Gomes and Yazmin bombing away, and Yazmin's going to drop her, knock her out, and score a ton of points, which is great if you have her, or it's going to turn into a grappling match, and they're not going to want to strike. And I personally think that Yazmin's going to win this fight. I think she's the better fighter. She's got the more technical striking, the same amount of power, and probably the better takedowns. Denise is going to have the better raw jiu-jitsu. Denise is insanely tough. You don't just get her out of there as soon as you want. I don't think this fight necessarily goes the distance. But again, $9,300. I'm probably not going to spend it on Yazmin, even though I do think she wins potentially inside the distance. Again, we have a very juiced card here. We have people that could win and score 120, 130. We have 2 different 5-round fights. There's a lot of spots here, a lot of choices to make. If you haven't done a lot of multi-entry contests, this is the type of card where you want to start to experiment with some of those big GPP or multi-entry tournament style contests, because there's a lot of different combinations here, and we're going to have some crazy scorecards. But I have Yazmin as the pick. Personally, I'm not spending $9,300. We got Jack Della Maddalena. I will probably spend the $9,700. There's 2 schools of thought here. You could be a little riskier, get yourself a Yazmin and a Vitor Petrino, right? Between the two of them, you'll probably save a good chunk of money, or you just go full juice. Jack Della Maddalena, Bo Nickel. Personally, I like to do cash games, 50-50s, double ups. If you don't know what any of those are, go to WeWantPicks.com, become a premium member. We have a full breakdown of contests and what to do with them and how it all works. My logic here is I am 99% sure that Jack Della Maddalena is going to win and win by finish. Therefore, I have to have him in my lineup. This guy has a phenomenal jab. He's got some good power. He's got some very, very nice, tight striking, and he's the guy who has had a full camp coming into this fight. He's taking on UFC newcomer, short notice step up, Josiah Harrell. Josiah Harrell stepping up on short notice. He's not even a welterweight. This is a 155-pounder for the most part. Probably could be a 145-pounder as well. But he is a wrestler. Stylistically, a wrestler, in theory, is a problem for Jack Della Maddalena, right? Jack's such a good striker. You're going to get somebody who's going to wrestle. Maybe he's in some trouble. But to me, the combination of short notice, the combination of UFC debut, the combination of he's undersized, I think all of those are working against Josiah. And even though maybe he can get to the legs, maybe he can get a takedown. We've seen Jack get up. We've seen him absolutely pummel people's faces, light them up, bloody them, and then finish them. I like Jack Maddalena to win this fight, as most do. The dude is a massive favorite. The question becomes, do you put him in your lineup at $9,700 and hope for that 110, 120 score? Or do you say, hey, listen, Josiah's pretty tough. Josiah might be able to get this fight to go a little longer, and even if he gets finished, Jack might only score 80. And now 80 on a $9,700 DraftKings salary is not worth the money. So I'll let you make that decision for your lineup, obviously. I personally, I think Jack will score the points. I think he will be worth it. I will probably have him in my lineup. I'm going to have more than one lineup, obviously. But I get myself some Edgar Chairez, and all of a sudden I can get Jack Maddalena in there as well. And I think Jack will be worth the money. I think he'll put up some decent numbers here and get Josiah out of there. Then we have what might be fight of the night and what is the retirement fight of Robbie Lawler. $7,300 on a guy that has knocked heads off for the last 20 years, on the former welterweight champion of the world. He is fighting a dude who was just TKO'd, and he's only $7,300. I get it. Robbie Lawler's old. A little beat up. He's 41. He's been through it. Just got knocked out by a guy that doesn't really knock anybody out. I get all of those things. But I also get that Robbie Lawler hits like a freight train. Robbie Lawler is going to have more technique in this fight, more skill in this fight. He's going to be the better everything. He's just old. But power is the last thing that goes. The chin is the first thing that goes. That is quite the problem we got here. But $7,300, a discount on the former welterweight champion of the world who hits like a bus. He's taking on Nico Price. Nico Price, $8,900. We're talking about Nico Price fighting Robbie Lawler at the same price range that we're talking about some of these other genuinely very good fighters. Wait till I get to Jalen Turner. And we're going to compare. It just seems way out of whack as far as pricing is concerned. I get it. Nico is young. Nico's dangerous. He's got plenty of finishes. He comes out. He's wild. He's exciting. But Nico is also a bit chinny, and Nico can also be finished. And Robbie Lawler is somebody that will chin check you. So I think Nico Price wins this fight just because of youth, frankly. Am I going to spend $8,900 on Nico Price? Absolutely not. Absolutely not. Robbie Lawler, yes, he was just knocked out, but that's not a guarantee that you're going to be knocked out every time you look in a mirror. And Nico Price was also just finished by Philip Rowe late. And I guarantee you Robbie Lawler hits harder than Philip Rowe. I'm probably not going to have either one of these guys in my lineup, but if I need somebody at that super low price point, Chairez, solid as I mentioned. I think Robbie Lawler, solid as well. This is a 50-50 fight in my opinion. You're going to get a $7,300 price salary on a 50-50 fight. I like Robbie Lawler. I love him. I'm going to watch this fight. I'm going to be sad when he retires because as an old school UFC fan who's been watching since literally UFC 1 in 1993, I hate to see the guy go. But I'm not, I get it. He's probably going to lose, but I'm not spending $8,900 on Nico Price. So let's all just watch, enjoy Robbie, let him get his swan song, hope he gets the win. And I think $7,500 or $7,300 is not that unreasonable of a price for a guy that has proven to us time and time again he's capable of being the best in the world. Then we have Bo Nickel taking on Val Woodburn. Val Woodburn stepping up on short notice. Bo Nickel lost his original opponent. We should all know Bo at this point, right? And A, the UFC marketing machine, and B, if you follow college wrestling at all, even if you just watch the NCAA finals every year after basketball, you know that Bo Nickel is an absolute wrestling beast. The dude won 3 national championships. He won the Hodge Trophy, which basically says you are the best wrestler in the country at that time, regardless of weight class. Bo Nickel is the real deal when it comes to wrestling. He's also competed at a high level in grappling. He grappled Gordon Ryan. He's competed in all sorts of tournaments. Yeah, is he submitting people left and right in grappling tournaments at a high level? No. Is he being submitted left and right? No. So not only does he have the wrestling acumen, he's got the grappling acumen. We haven't seen dick as far as striking is concerned, but does it matter? Not yet. Not yet, because Bo Nickel's going to come forward, get the takedowns, get the finishes. That is what he has done in his 4 MMA fights, and that's likely what he does here. But this fight's a little different than the Tresean Gore fight. In the Tresean Gore fight, Bo Nickel's original opponent, Tresean Gore is also a wrestler. And there was 11 planets between the two of them as far as skill was concerned. Now we got Val Woodburn. Val Woodburn, you watch his fights, there's some clinch work there. He's not a wrestler though. But this dude hits like a truck. He's going to stand there and he's going to bomb. This is the exact type of matchup that could be a big problem for Bo Nickel this early in his career. Meaning, you got Val Woodburn, who is just going to swing wild. I don't think he's going to worry about the takedown. I think he's like, here it comes. I'm just going to swing and try to take this guy's head off. And that's exactly the type of fight that could be a problem for Bo this early in his career. Somebody who just bites down and swings hard. If he swings and misses, he is then taken down, likely submitted. That is probably what happens. Bo Nickel at an insane $9,800. I just don't see a world. Obviously, there is a world where he loses, and I actually put $25 on Val because those odds are nuts. But we're talking DraftKings. We're talking putting points on the board. If you're playing a cash game, you want those guaranteed wins. And Bo Nickel is probably one of them at $9,800, especially for 50-50s and double ups. He'll be the most highly owned person everywhere, and you sort of need him for that reason, and there's less risk for that reason as well. So I like Bo Nickel. I'm going to spend the $9,800 at least in a couple of my lineups. We got Jalen Turner and Dan Hooker. Jalen Turner, $8,800. I think that's a great price. I think it's a great price for Jalen Turner. I think you can build your lineup avoiding a Bo Nickel. Leave Bo Nickel and Jack out of it, and you can get Jalen Turner. You can get Esteban Ribovics. You want to go with Yazmin as well. All of a sudden, you have 3 expensive but should get a win people, and you have a little more money to work with for the underdogs, right? There's a couple different approaches here. If that's the approach you're going to go, if you're going to avoid the steamed chalk there, then I think Jalen Turner for sure needs to be in your lineup at $8,800. He's got laser pinpoint accuracy on his strikes. He's incredibly long. He's powerful. He's got great scramble skills, good wrestling defense. Yes, he's coming off this loss to Gamrot, but the reality, Gamrot takes down the world, and this was a split decision. That's how close that fight was, even though he was taken down a handful of times. He's got a bunch of submission wins recently. He's not a grappler, but it just shows you how he's a complete MMA fighter, and if there's a scramble and there's something there, he will take it. He will snatch something up. He will run with it. 3 of his last 4 wins are by submission. And you love to see it from somebody like Jalen Turner, who's already super long, already super dangerous in the striking. I love Jalen Turner at $8,800. He's fighting Dan Hooker. Dan Hooker's a tried and true vet at this point, right? This loss to Arnold Allen was at 145 pounds. The Islam loss was short notice. The Michael Chandler loss was just a one-punch good night in Michael Chandler's debut. This Dustin Poirier loss was incredible. It just showed you how insanely tough this guy is. Look at the points he put up. He put up 98 freaking points in a loss. He had 4 takedowns in a loss. The takedowns are the only thing. If he wants to turn into a wrestler, we saw that against Dan Hooker. We saw that against Hack Parast. Dan Hooker's not a bum. Dan Hooker's not soft. He's going to come out here. He's going to fight hard. The reality is, I think this fight goes a little bit, but I still think Jalen Turner wins, and I think he could win by finish. Making that $8,800 price tag, he'll probably put up, almost 100 points, maybe a little more than 100 or right there. But you're getting a steep discount. He is literally $1,000 salary cheaper than Bo Nickel. And if he puts up 20 fewer points than Bo Nickel, well, then Jalen Turner was worth that, right? Because then you had another $1,000 to put on somebody else. So personally, I love Jalen Turner. I think he gets it done. I think $8,800 is a good price point. If you like Dan Hooker, he's proven to us how tough he can be. He's proven he can fight the upper echelon. He's proven he can wrestle and strike and do all the things, and he's a very affordable $7,400. I just don't think that's a reality. Then we have Robert Whittaker taking on Dricus du Plessis. The reality is Robert Whittaker is going to smoke this fool. I get it. Dricus is a ton of fun. You like watching him. He keeps somehow stringing together wins. He's got a very nice record. But there are levels to this. Robert Whittaker is the third best middleweight that has ever walked the face of this earth. The only two people you could tell me are better than him are Israel Adesanya and Anderson the Spider Silva. That's it. And you're going to tell me that Dricus is going to come in here and win this fight? Absolutely not. Robert Whittaker is going to win this fight. So now the question becomes, what's the price tag? How many points is he going to put on the board? Because he smoked Marvin Vettori and he only put up 65 points. He smoked Jared Cannonier. He only put up 73 points. Can't go by the Gastelum fight. That was 5 rounds. 88 points against Darren Till. I mean, he's absolutely walking through these people. And he's not finishing them. He's just so effing good that he's controlling the fights. He's never in any real trouble. And he's out grappling. He's out striking. He's better than them everywhere. That will happen in this fight. I can't draft him because I don't necessarily think he's going to get a finish. And the finish is the only way he's going to be worth that $9,100 price tag. Dricus du Plessis, he just finished Brunson. I mean, his DraftKings numbers are impressive. 119, 126. The Tavares one's the lowest he had. But outside of that, 108, 110. I mean, these are impressive numbers. But I don't think he gets it done. The only reason he beat Derek Brunson is because Derek Brunson is old and has no chin. He got smoked that first round. Darren Till handed that fight. I mean, he was in real trouble against Darren Till, which is crazy because Darren Till had like a DUI 3 weeks before that fight. That's an exaggeration before you fact check me. The reality is, Dricus is fun. It is better for the division if Dricus wins. Like, how many times are we going to watch Robert Whittaker versus Israel Adesanya? But Robert Whittaker is going to win this fight, so I can't draft Dricus. And Robert Whittaker doesn't put up the greatest numbers in his wins, so I can't draft him as well. So I'm going to fade Robert Whittaker here, even though I'm unbelievably confident in him to win. Co-main event, Brandon Moreno and Alexandre Pantoja. Between the main and the co-main, you are going to want to double one of these fights up. So instead of me telling you which one of these people to put in your lineup, let's talk about which fight you should probably double up. We have Brandon Moreno and Alexandre Pantoja. They're going to go at it. Brandon Moreno is currently the champion, obviously. This is technically going to be his first time defending the belt. And in his wins, he puts up solid numbers. Are they incredible? No. But they're solid numbers. He finished Figueiredo. He finished Kai Kara France and still didn't break 100 points in either one of those. And that's because he's relatively measured. There's not 30 takedowns and 20 minutes of control time leading up to the stoppage. There's not 8 knockdowns, and he's just not putting up those same numbers that some of these other people do because he's going to flow with the fight. If you're striking, he'll strike and he'll work in a takedown or two. If it's a grappling match, he's in a scramble, he'll try to work his way on top. We're not going to get these long, drawn out, wild back and forth fights out of him for the most part. But he's pretty good everywhere and he can beat you anywhere, although he has lost to Pantoja twice. Pantoja beat him early in the career, and we're not going to see that on here. And then he beat him in 2018, but he only put up 67 points because that was a decision win. Earlier in the career, I believe it was a submission win. Alexandre Pantoja, solid striker, solid grappler. He's going to come forward. I think he's going to be composed, throw 1-2s, and look to get the takedowns. I think he's going to struggle to take down Brandon Moreno. He may have one or two, but I don't think it's going to be what he needs it to be, right? I don't think it's going to be the 3 takedowns and a submission like he had over Royval. I personally think this is the fight that you do not double up. I think instead of drafting Brandon or Pantoja, I think you draft both Volk and Yair Rodriguez, because look at the Volk numbers. These are very, very different. 114, 133, 136, 103. And yeah, there's one stoppage in the mix. The rest of these are decision wins, and that's because the strike numbers are through the roof. He's running laps around people with the strike numbers. He's getting control time either with takedowns or without. And I think Alexander Volkanovski is going to work in some takedowns here, and he doesn't finish people, which means it's going to go 5 rounds, which in some cases is a good thing because that's 2 extra rounds of takedowns, control times, 2 extra rounds of significant strikes. I think Volkanovski wins this fight. But Yair Rodriguez is a gamer. Let's look at what he did against Max Holloway. He put up 81 points in a loss against Max Holloway. So let's take his 81 points in a loss. We'll take Volkanovski's 110 in a win. And now we have almost a 200-point doubled up main event, and that's exactly what we want here. So personally, I'm going to double up this main event. That should leave some room for heavy chalk, whether I'm going to go Bo Nickel or somebody else. That's going to be my strategy here. I think that's going to make the most sense. If you got to pick a side, I personally like Volk to win, but Yair Rodriguez has the more upside. He's only $7,000, and this dude is a finish machine. If he gets it done, that is how he's going to do it. But personally, I'm going to double up that, and however it goes, it goes. Guys, it is not a coincidence that our premium members made $150,000 in the last 2 months. It's not a coincidence. These are only DraftKings winning tickets. They are absolutely crushing it. Everywhere from a modest $2,000 win to $4,000 wins, a 50, a 78, a 13. But our premium members are consistently winning in DraftKings. And yeah, it's the insight. It's the cheat sheets. It's the salary rankings. It's the optimizer. It's literally a combination of all of these tools. Become a premium member now. It's only $10 a month. You're going to get anything you have ever needed to have a successful DraftKings journey. WeWantPicks.com. It's only $10 a month.